Well, welcome back to Project Budde, Amateur Radio Edition again. So I wanted to show you something that I am building. So I'm going to build a multi-band dipole antenna. I'm hoping that makes sense. So what I thought of doing, I have one up in my attic, and I just have it for 40 meters. And I know, okay, for you ham radio folk, I can use a tuner and maybe it will work on some bands, some not on others. So what I thought of was, what if I was to make an antenna that had connectors on the end? Sorry, I'm looking at these connectors. Where depending on what band I wanted to use, I could disconnect the other part of the antenna. So for instance, I did a whole calculation of a half-wave dipole, I believe it was, for what bands that I am authorized for or licensed for, and then came up with, well, what would the center point be? And I'm basing my antenna lengths off that center point, because I'm thinking the tuning might take care of some other parts of it. So for instance, I'm going to build it from 6 meters through 80 meters. So a 6 meter antenna needs to be 4.62 feet long per element, a total feet of 9.34. So each element needs to be 4.67 feet long. So what I've got is these are the ends that will go to my little box I have upstairs. I know it's all connected still, but I'm going to pull these apart. So these will connect to the box that I have that will feed it. So it'll feed the center point and the end point. And then at the other end, I have these connectors. So I labeled what each antenna band was. So this one says 6M on it for 6 meters. And then basically, hold on, I'm trying to do this. And then I've got the other side of, okay, well, I want to add the 10 meters. So I've got these connectors that look like this that will plug into the other part. So this is a male part, and then there's a female part. So you just plug them together, and so on and so on. So my plan was, hey, if I want to talk on 20 meters, but I've got it all connected for 80 meters, I just go to the point that says the end of 20 meters and I just disconnect it. And I'm hoping that this will work. I don't have any proof that it will, but I think in theory it should. So I guess we're going to see. But that's what I'm doing so far. And I'll show you upstairs what I already have. So this is the little sheet that I have. So I made a chart up top that says, hey, what are the bands, what's the low edge, upper edge, and then a center point. And then I created this other sheet. Actually, I used ChatGPT to do this other part. Actually, I think I did it for both. That will tell me, hey, what's the band, what's the midpoint frequency, what's the total length in feet, and then I've got it broken down by per element in feet and then per element in inches. And then I've got some chicken scratch up there. So for instance, the chicken scratch is, okay, well, a 6 meter, each element has to be 4.67 feet long, and a 10 meter antenna element needs to be I gotta stop myself from getting ready to sneeze. 8.21. So I cut a piece 4.67 feet long, and then I cut a piece 3.54 feet long. So 4.67 and 3.54 equals 8.21. So connecting the two would give me a 10 meter antenna, and so on. So I cut all the pieces for that, and that's how I'm going. So far I've connected 6 meter through 12 meter. So I'm going to go upstairs and I'll show you what I have and how I'm going to connect all this and go from there. So up in my attic, I've got my little setup. That's the box that I'm tying into. This side's the center, this side's the ground shield. And then as you can see, I've got wires all up there. So they circle around and they go way down there. Sorry, I don't have all the lights on. And the other side goes way up here. So for instance, it just scrolls all the way around back there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect what I have and start putting this up. And I'm probably going to bring things a little closer so I can fit it on the attic ceiling per se. But that's what I'm doing so far. And I'll show you. That is sort of my Radio Shack right now. I got a computer over there, got a little tiny QRP Yaesu radio, got an antenna tuner, power supply, area I take notes, the band plan, my license, that's my disconnect for switching between the two HF bands and my 2 meter band. I'm gonna have to pull that one sticker off. So that's what I'm doing so far, and I'll come back once I've sort of got everything finished. So I don't know if you can see in there, but I got one connector that's for the shield, and the other is, it says center there. This was just a little plastic box thing that I made. So I'll start moving it over, and I'm just separating it as we go. So that's what I've got so far. I've got to take out the old antenna. All I'm using is just some speaker wire. I forget what gauge it is. I can take a picture of that or put it in my link, but when I used it on 40 meters, it worked before. When I first did it, I live in Ohio, and I contacted someone in Illinois on 5 watts. So I know that the 40 meter one that I put up works. So this will just give me more coverage. So there you go. Okay, well, I'll show you what I've got so far. I've got one side and part of another side done. So this will be my antenna. So as you can see, I've got it. I got parts marked. So for instance, if I just want 6 meters, I would disconnect that connector, which connects to the 10 meter portion, etc. So I've got each little section that tells me what the previous and what the new section is. So like this is where 20 or 40 and 80 meters meet. So all I have to do is just unplug these connectors depending on what band I want to work on. So I'm still working on over here. I've got up to 40 meters. That goes over to here. And then, so that's about where I'll put it. And then it will just rope around up here, much like I did there. So I am hoping this works as well as my other area did. The last time I did this, I just had a 40-meter antenna, so that worked out pretty well. It'll be interesting to see how being able to disconnect it will work. I think I might have to find, sorry, I just keep looking at what I was doing. I'll probably have to maybe make some connectors where, not really connectors, but more insulators onto the roof joists to make it stick against that joist more. Now I just got it sort of tied from section to section, and I've got some middle sections, so I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. I'll show you. So sort of like here I've got multiple areas where I have the wires going through or they're tucked behind it. So it might be where I'll have to come up with something to, if I go disconnect, to make sure that it's fitted on there properly. So that's what it is so far. I still got to do the other area, but it's after 8 o'clock at night, and I'm gonna quit for the night. And we'll get back at it later. I actually ran out of some of those red connectors that I got from Lowe's. Not to plug a store, but that's where I found them. I had to get some more, so that's what sort of held me off a little bit, along with life getting in the way. So we'll get back at it. And probably when I get back at it, I might not be wearing the same clothes. So don't think that I'm a fan of white. See ya. Okay, well, I'm back at it, and I've pretty much finished it up. So I'll show you what I got, and then I'll tune it up and see what happens and go from there. So this is what I've got for the other section. As you can see, it just runs along the rafters. So anyway, we'll tune it up and see how it works. Okay, well, I've got it on 80 meters. Got my tuner over there. So I'll push that to get it to tune. Looks like it worked. So I'm just going to try to disconnect some of the areas and make sure it tunes up for other frequencies. Okay, so based on just a few tests, for you that know what ham radio is, my 80 meters, I'm not tuned that fantastic on it. I think my SWR is sort of high, so I might borrow one of my friend's antenna analyzer and see if I need to shorten it or lengthen it. But everything else tunes out really well. Obviously, getting on the air will be the big determining factor, so we'll see how that goes. It will be a challenge, I would say, from the standpoint of I only put out 5 watts of power, so that's not a whole lot, but I think I said earlier in the video that when I just had a 40-meter antenna built, I made a connection to Illinois, which is quite a ways from our house. So at least I know it gets out and the 5 watts worked. But it's sort of nice having the being able to disconnect. Just got to pay attention to what you're disconnecting. I did find that I had to put a few more wire connectors on it. not connectors, the little insulators that hold it against the rafters. I put a few more of those in place where like there were some areas that I unplugged. So might be others that maybe I need to take a piece of wood and maybe just put it behind the wire and extend it, or just extend the wire so it's not looping so bad at the bottom. If that makes sense, just sort of hanging there. So I might do that, but this will be a start probably on Tuesday. I'm going to give it a try, perhaps, because there is a digital net that I've been trying to get onto, but I didn't really have an 80-meter antenna, so that's the whole purpose of why I built this. So anyway, that's where we are. So I thought I'd just show you what I did. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. I know I do lots of odd, goofy videos that maybe don't pertain to everybody, but I think everybody in YouTube's that way, unless you're focused on one particular thing, like cars or whatever. So thanks again, and by the way, I'm up to 103 subscribers, so thank you for the newest subscribers. I hope you get something out of it, or that you've watched some of the other ones and got something out of it. So thanks again to all those subscribers and all those that haven't subscribed but still watch anyway. I really appreciate it. Thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye.